Welcome to Westside Community Church. You're watching a message titled Who Told You That by Pastor John Clark's son, Pastor Andrew Clark.
But here we go. Genesis chapter 3. We're going to be in verse 6. Genesis 3, verse 6. I'll read it. It says, "When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord among the trees of the garden. Then the Lord called to the man, 'Where are you?' He answered, 'I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid.'" Verse 11, "And he said, 'Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?'" Will you pray with me this morning? God, I thank you for today. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. Father, may it be your words that are heard, and may I just be able to be your instrument, God. Father, I pray that this is always glorifying to you, and all that we do, we give you today. I pray that there's a chance for your word and your message to be heard. In your name, amen. Question: who here loves to disappoint? Like, who wakes up in the morning and says, "Man, I can't wait to go and disappoint someone today"? Or who wakes up and says, "I can't wait for my oldest son to just disappoint me and mess me up once again. I cannot wait for that." Like, is that anyone? Anyone? No? Okay, well, here. Is disappointment, though, is this idea of depression and despair or disappointment, this failure, is that not part of life? It doesn't always seem like at some point in life you're going to be disappointed. At some point in life, you're going to disappoint someone. At some point in life, you're going to be let down and you're going to feel forgotten or misplaced. I believe today that's just something we have to deal with as humans. Of dealing with fallen people, that's what we have to deal with, is this idea of disappointment and failure. And it can be a vicious cycle. You know what I'm saying? It's the failure at work, it's the disappointing action that happens at your job, which next thing you know, your wife makes a mistake and you become a little more upset. And that carries over, or there's a different situation. You get the phone call again, your child once again is in trouble. And once again, it's, as a parent, what did I do wrong? Why can't they just be normal? Why can't they just be successful? And it's just it's a constant struggle, day in and day out, with disappointment. I believe that's something we're going to deal with, and if you haven't dealt with it yet, that's awesome. But it's probably coming. You see, like I said, there's this vicious cycle to it, and if we're not careful, it can really devour us quicker than you'll ever know. You see, I love basketball, and I know what you're thinking. Andrew, at 5'8", probably around 200 pounds, size 13 feet, you are the prototypical basketball player. So absolutely, that makes sense that basketball would be your favorite sport. I know. But it is. I from a young age, from 4th or 5th grade, I would start playing. There's pictures of my dad holding me with a basketball as a baby. Like, it's just something I love to do, and I worked at it. Like I said, starting in 5th grade all the way up through my senior year, it was something I took time in. I put the effort in. I went to the camps. I did the training days. I showed up early. I stayed late. I did the 3-on-3 tournaments. I did the one-on-one with coaches. Like, I really was passionate about this game of basketball. I mean, there was times when I got so good, I would say I was good, but like that coaches at a young age would start to say, "Hey, we can't wait for Andrew when he gets up into some of the higher teams. We like the way he plays defense. We like his aggressive nature. We like his speed." As a freshman, I was told by one of the JV coaches, "You are the fastest point guard we've seen in this school. You're going to do great things. We're so excited." And so I started to believe these things I was told. And so it pushed me harder, and I worked even harder. I stayed even later after practice. I went to even more one-on-one, three-on-three, all these workouts. I put all this time and effort to fulfill these things I had been told, these promises I felt like had been made to me. So my senior year comes around, and I was a little smaller. I was still the same height, I guess. I don't know. I haven't grown in 8 years. But anyways, I was getting ready to play. About a month out from the season, in a fluke accident in a scrimmage, I reach one way, a guy goes the other way, and I don't know, I didn't tear anything, but basically I had sprained and severely just messed up my pectoral muscle. And I was out for about 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks I sat on the sidelines, and for 2 weeks I just rode a stationary bike. Same person, same mentality for the game, same speed, same aggressiveness, same effort. I still showed up early to practice. I stayed after and helped how I could. It was still important to me. I just had to ride a stationary bike for 2 weeks. I get healthy, and I get a chance to come back and play. Only instead of stepping onto the court and starting and playing all these minutes and scoring all these points and doing all these sweet things, I found myself on the bench. I found myself playing behind others, being replaced really easily and really quickly. And I started to fill my mind. I started to question everything. I was like, am I that easily replaced? Was this all for nothing? Was all this work, all this time, all this effort, was it pointless? Why did I waste? I could have been doing so many other things with my time. Instead, I spent it here on this basketball court playing with this rubber ball, and now you're going to tell me that my only worth is to sit here on the sideline still? I became so defeated, and I started to fill myself with these thoughts. It was easier to go home at night and complain to my parents. It was easier to start talking bad about my coaches. It was easier to just continue to fill myself with doubt. Is that you this morning? Is it 20 years on the workforce only to be easily replaced, only to lose your job? All the promises you were made on your wedding day, only a couple years later to find yourself with 2 kids and divorced. Is that you today? We're made to believe these promises in life, and we're told things, and we start to believe things, only to have them not end up how we expected. Like I said, it just becomes easier to kind of sit in this disappointment, to sit in the doubt. But there's truth. There is truth in one thing, and that is what God says about you. There is a truth in that. God says, I love you, and He says, when you're falling, I want to catch you. When you feel disappointed, remember that you can never disappoint me. When you feel ashamed, when you feel broken, I just want to fix you. There's truth in that. There's truth in what He says about you and I. You see, because in life, the ups only seem so high. Am I right? The ups, we only go so far in life before they plateau or they fall off. But yet the downs, when we're falling, when we can't seem to get up, there's no bottom. The spiral seems out of control, and there's no way, there's no sign of this stopping. The ups only seem so high, yet the downs have no bottom. Did you hear that? Is that you today? There's moments in life when we need to remember that He does speak truth. And that He says when you're falling and you seem the furthest away, that's when you need to reach for me the hardest. That's when you can know my hand is always extended. See, my God says, I love you and I cherish you and I need you and I want you. You cannot disappoint me. Do not feel ashamed by me. When everything else seems to not make sense, we can lean on that. We can lean on His promises. In Numbers 23:19, Numbers 23:19 says this. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. Does he speak and then not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? You see, he does not change. It says right here that if he promised it, he will fulfill it. If he says it, you can count on it. If there's anyone I'm not going to doubt in life, it's God. He makes promise after promise. And yes, that promise may not be fulfilled tomorrow. That promise may not be fulfilled in a couple months. It's still going to take work. There's still going to be effort. But it says right here, he does not change. He's not like you or I. He's not like those promises that can be made. Don't worry, Andrew, the candy's right there for you. Take it. You're going to be great. It's all yours. Nope. No, that's not him. He does not change his mind. He does not promise it. If he did not promise it, probably not going to happen, but if he promised it, you can count on it. And in the same way, we know in 1 Peter 5:8, it talks about Satan being like a roaring lion, prowling around looking to devour those, looking for when you and I have fallen, looking for when you and I seem to be struggling the most. That's when he loves. Ooh, does he love to just attack and continue to hold us and bring us down. That's when he likes to feed us those lies. You're right. You are not as good as you thought. You're right. You are that easily replaced. You know what? You're right. All that time and effort you put in, you should just give up now. He loves that because he wants to stop you. He wants to hurt you. He wants to keep you from reaching that promise that God has placed in your life, that promise and that plan that God has for you. And at the opposite, when you're right there, when you are this close to success, he loves that too. Satan says, no, just, yeah, it's right here. It's right here. Yeah, you're about to get there. It makes sense. I know. You're about to get there, but walk this way. Remember how everyone told you no? Remember how no one said you were worth being loved? Remember that? Remember how, and we start to question, yeah, I do remember that. I guess I'm not as good as I thought I was. And we start to turn away from our promises and from the plans that God has made for you. Growing up in my house, I like to say that living life with my father was kind of like living in HD, like pretty high definition, IMAX. Everything seemed to just kind of be like real aggressive in nature, and I learned a lot. It was awesome. It was just really fast-paced. And Nicole always wonders now why I like to stay inside, and I tend to hide from crowds and stuff. I'm like, babe, you don't get it. People know me that I don't even know them. It's weird. But growing up, I got to experience a lot of really cool stuff because of who my dad was. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. And I got to just see all the background. I got to see what would happen on Sunday morning, what all the work and effort came into what was supposed to go on that you see up here. You know, I got to see the late nights and the hard work and the effort. I got to see those things firsthand. And I felt from a young age, roughly around 5th grade, 6th grade, that I was supposed to do the same thing. I felt God in my life saying, you're supposed to be a pastor. You're supposed to be in ministry. And I was like, that's cool, but nah, I'm good. All right, God, I've seen the effort. I've seen the work. I can't do that. But I kept feeling this urge. And the more and more I'd get closer to being like, you know what, yeah, the more and more I'd be like, no, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to deal with that. Because the other thing as I grew up, I really struggled with is my identity. I'd gotten really used to being PJ's kid, Pastor John's boy. Oh, John Clark's your dad. Cool. Never getting to be myself. Never getting to be Andrew Clark, and Pastor John happens to be my dad. It was him, then me. So now God's asking me to go and do the same thing he did and he does? To walk in his shadow even more? Like, no, I'm good. I need to do something else. And I actually began to really, really resent him. I began to really, I wouldn't say hate, but I couldn't stand being Pastor John's son. Until one day I finally got the courage, or just broke down. I don't remember what happened. It was a retreat of some sort, and he showed up, and I told Dawn, the youth leader, I told her, don't let my dad show up, and he showed up still. And I remember breaking down and being like, Dad, why do you want me to be a pastor? Why are you making me do this? And he was just kind of looking at me. He's probably given you looks before too, but he was kind of just like looking at me like, what are you, tart? And I was like, Dad, why do you want me to do these things? Like, I don't want to be in ministry. I don't want to be like you. I want to be myself. And he says, hold on, Andrew. Who told you that I wanted you to be a pastor? I was like, well, you did. You've told me I was supposed to be a pastor. You want me just to be like you because you want to show you're better than me. And he said, oh, no, I've never said that. I've always held the belief that if you're supposed to be an astronaut or work in a gas station or whatever you're supposed to be, Andrew, a teacher, you can be that, and I'm going to love you. I'm still going to view you the same way. You don't need to be a ministry or be a pastor to make me happy, to fulfill any dreams I've had. I never told you that. Who told you that's supposed to be those things? If you want to, you go do what you feel like you're supposed to do. And I said, I'm supposed to be a pastor. He's like, and that's what you'll be. And I'll love you still the same, and you're going to be your own person and do your own thing, and it's going to be just as much. If God promised it, if he planned it for you, then you're going to do that. And it just made me think, though, who told you that? I mean, we see in Genesis here, they find themselves hiding, feeling shameful of something that wasn't meant to be shameful. Yeah, being naked. That was never supposed to be something that was shameful, yet they heard a different voice. They listened to something else, and now they found themselves hidden. They were told, you're supposed to just follow my plan, my promise. Look at this beautiful area I've created for you. Just don't do this, and you'll be fine. Yet something else said, no, go ahead and do it. Don't listen to that. That's not true. And they believed the lies. What has God said? He says, who told you that you were naked? Who told you that? Who else did you listen to? Why did you not just listen to me? So my question for today is, who told you that? Who told you that just because your father's an alcoholic, that makes you one? Who told you today that just because no one else in your family hasn't gone to college, that you won't go to college? Who told you that you're not loved? Who told you that your story ends here? Who told you these things? Who told you that you can't be successful? Who told you that you don't match up? Who told you that? Who told you that you're not worth anyone's time? Who told you that no one cares and that you're not beautiful? Because I know one thing, that my God says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Amen. My God says that I love you. My God says that you will never, ever upset me. He says, I want you, and I want you to know something today. That the only voice that you need to listen to, if God didn't tell you, then whoever told you that, it don't matter. Whoever told you those things, don't listen, because yes, it's going to take work. And Andy, if you want to come up, Andy, I don't know how that works, but anyways, if someone else, if he told you that today, I just want you to know that it takes work. It takes time. It takes effort. It's not going to be a tomorrow thing, but if God didn't tell you, then don't believe it. You see, we need to hold on to His promises and to His words. And when we find ourselves at night going through these different thoughts and these negative feelings that I don't match up, I am worthless. No, you're not. No, you are not. He says, come to me and believe me when I say that you are worth something. And I want you to know today that you need to hold on to His truth. Hold on to His promises. Hold on to the one who loves you unconditionally. And if anything, know that nothing whatsoever at all can separate you from His love. Nothing. Who told you that? No one that's important. Unless God told you. And what He tells us is that nothing can separate us from His love. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Would you stand with us?
Thank you for joining us at Westside Community Church. We hope to see you at one of our Sunday services at 9 or 11 a.m.